episode of These Go to 11. Let's turn it up. Hey everybody, welcome back to These Go to 11, an unchurchy conversation about everyday faith. Please make sure you like, subscribe, and review on your favorite podcast platform. This not only helps us to get our content out there, but also helps us to find out what you, our faithful listeners, think. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to These Go to 11. Once again, I'm Nathan Bell. Joining me as always, Greg Dutcher. Greg, what is going on, my friend?
Dude, the Imago Dei in R.C. Sproul's Breathy Voice is on my mind.
Yeah.
And I can't explain it. I think we said it when we previewed this last week. I have been thinking a lot about what it means to be authentically human.
Yeah.
Honestly, dude, we take it for granted. We go through life, but like the place we have in the universe, I know I'm kind of getting right in, but I'm excited.
Yeah.
But in general, off to a good week.
Yep.
I trust you are as well.
Yeah. Things are definitely in swing at school. We had our first full week. Well, no, we didn't. This will be our first full week.
Oh, that's right.
This week because last week we had Labor Day.
Yep.
And actually, our school does something a little different. When I say our school, I mean LCA, Lighthouse Christian Academy, which is where I'm now head of school, which we talked about last week. We do something a little different. So the parents actually come in for kind of a drop off supplies, and we do a little back to school dinner on Tuesday. So we actually don't have our first official day on Tuesday. We actually don't have ours till Thursday.
Oh,
so
gotcha.
Parents come in, they do the drop off,
nice.
We kind of do the meet and greets, and then we give our teachers that Wednesday for one last day to come back in and get themselves kind of squared away with everything now in their classrooms, in the lockers, and all of that stuff before we actually jump into it.
The kids start with a 2-day week. That's awesome.
Technically a 3-day week because the Tuesday is more of a drop off.
Oh, right.
And then teachers do their kind of last minute stuff on Wednesday. So we have 2 days. So, they start with a 2-day. Yeah, sorry, not
but I see what you're saying. But in terms of the kids' experience, that's a nice easy way to kind of dip your toe back in the water. Because, dude, I used to dread the start of a new school year. I mean, when it was finally there, admittedly, there's some excitement because you're seeing your friends again.
Yep.
But the drudgery of summer's over and I'm heading in and it's so long.
Yeah.
But I think that's a wise way to start. Labor Day does help.
It does, yeah.
Again, as we said last week, a later Labor Day helps even more. But I think that's great. And one of the things I love about private schools, dude, you can do, especially in your role, my friend, what makes sense.
Yes.
You don't always have to do what, that's just how the county or the system is doing it this year.
Yep.
And it's very good. I remember that at Redeemer 2003, dude, that was before you were here, right? We had Hurricane Isabel. It came up. It's one of the few hurricanes that really touched Maryland significally.
Yep.
And I mean, Fells Point, you got people on like kayaks down there going to stores and traveling because it was just that whole Fells Point area, I remember, was flooded. A lot of areas up here in Harford County, people didn't have power in some cases for weeks.
Yeah. Yep.
And I remember how devastating it was, but Redeemer was at that point operating in sync with Baltimore County.
Yeah.
And then Baltimore County, understandably, because when you've got X amount of kids that live up in this area are unreachable, everybody doesn't go to school.
Right.
And then at one point, because Redeemer wasn't relying on a bus transportation system, they basically just said, we're open.
Yeah.
And I think that was the point, at least at that point in their history, they had kind of severed from the
county. Yeah.
In one way, it's easier. Hey, we'll do what the county does.
Oh, yeah.
But then they thought, this is a case where let's get control of it.
I think in general, following county schedule isn't a bad thing. I think in regard to, all right, we've got some snow days. County's going to do a 2-hour delay. We're going to kind of do a 2-hour delay. County's going to close. We're going to close. In that regard, if you're looking around and you see like, okay, not only are all of the county public places closing, but also the county private places are closing, as a Christian school, you don't necessarily want to be the first, but you also don't want to be the last. So you're gauging all of those things. But I think in general, following like breaks, right?
Yeah.
County is going to be off, for this week of spring break. Okay, well, private school, let's go ahead and try to imitate that. And then we just know that if it's around Easter, we're going to be a little longer. And if it's not, then we're going to make sure that we at least take our, Easter Monday and our Good Friday off. And, we're going to be observant because that's one of our major holy days, if not the major holy day for Christians. And so but I think in general, just understanding that, hey, this is the rhythm of where our county's at, and in deference to our parents who may have children in multiple places and doing different things, we're going to try to follow county scheduling as much as we can. Yeah. And then we'll do that as up until the point it makes sense. And then when it doesn't make sense anymore for us, we're going to stop doing that.
Yep. Yeah. And that's, it's the new rhythm. The good thing is there's nothing you really have to worry unless there were a hurricane.
Right.
Probably until December at the earliest. I mean, there's not going to be any notable weather.
Yep.
I wouldn't think of. Of course, watch. I'll say that, and then in October we'll have some rare weather event that we've never had. But anyway, dude, yes, to our theme. I was chomping. I almost got us in there quicker than ever.
Yes.
Some people are like, get to the theme.
Right.
And I said, well, we got to back up a little bit because that's what we do.
That's right. That's what we do. This is a social podcast, and so we got to socialize.
Yes.
But yes. I think it's fair to say that the format of how we're going to be approaching this, and I think it's fair to give it away because we're going to kind of outline where we're going with this.
We have 4 more left in September. So
4 more left in September. And so what we're going to do is we're going to be setting up this week. Mm-hmm. And then what we're going to do is through the setup, we're going to establish 3 main areas in which we bear God's image.
Yeah.
Prophet, priest, and king.
Yep.
And we're going to look at that, and we're going to talk about ultimately how Christ fulfills all of them and fulfills all of them perfectly. Mm-hmm. But as image bearers, we resemble, right? Or we reflect that piece of prophet, priest, and king in our lives in the way we are to approach the world. And so we're going to actually spend our last 3 diving into each one of those in detail and what that looks like, how Christ ultimately fulfills that, but then our mandate as Christians, small c, in doing that, right? Christ is the big C in Christian, and we are the small C's. And so how do we imitate, how do we reflect that image that we are to fulfill?
Yes.
So this week we're going to start made in the image of God. And so again, this is kind of a setup, and it's important in the setup that we start all the way back in the beginning. Mm-hmm. So we go back to Genesis 1, 26 to 27. And Greg, if you wouldn't mind pulling that up and just reading that for us.
Yes, sir. Genesis, a professional would have had this ready. So instead, I will quote it in Hebrew. Bereshit bara. No, I'm cheating. That's Genesis 1:1, the only thing I still remember. So I am pulling that up as we speak. Genesis 1. And I believe you said, my friend, 26?
Yes.
26 and 27?
Yep.
And so here we go. It says, then God said, let us make mankind in our image. Oh, I'm in the NIV. Let me go to ESV, dude.
Come on.
I know.
What are you doing in the NIV?
I know. It's like, what am I doing?
I thought you were an evangelical Bible believing Christian.
You thought I was truly saved. Here we go. Then God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over the livestock, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth." So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them.
Yeah. Can we start, and I don't want to get into a whole thing, because this would be a whole nother podcast that we would do, but the male, the man, them.
Yeah.
Can we talk a little bit about
sure.
that? Because we start right, and when you first read the NIV, you said mankind.
Yes.
And then when you came back, you said man. And so can you talk to us a little bit, not to geek out too much, but a little bit of what's going on in the language there with God's creation of man, female, humanity, mankind?
Oh, of course. Yeah. Well, I mean, in the broadest context, I think it's interesting that Adam is in and of himself insufficient to finish the story.
Yes.
Oh, and then later a woman was made, because that last verse is significant. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them.
Yeah.
So there is a solidarity in Adam that Eve shares, but the reflection of the image of God is seen in male and female. So again, I want to be clear. I do not believe God has a gender in the proper sense that we would describe, because God is, to use the old theological term, an incorporeal being.
Yes.
Without a body. And that is what makes the incarnation of Jesus such a jaw-dropping, amazing story in the history of redemption. The Word, who was with God, was God, became flesh.
Yeah.
Is very, very significant. So, yes, some of the translations balk a little bit today at what they might consider overly masculinized language. You and I have talked about that before, and that is a whole other subject. But I just believe we are not free to call God what we want to call him.
Yes.
He identifies as he.
Yep.
Even though I fully acknowledge John 4, Jesus says God is spirit.
Yes.
Those who worship, and a spirit doesn't have a body, therefore he doesn't have what we would consider biologically marked gender.
Right.
Because he doesn't have a body.
Yep.
So I think in that sense, we're seeing God creates Adam.
Yep.
But we know from the more detailed context of Genesis 2 that he creates Eve from Adam.
Yes.
So in creating Adam, he's really creating them both.
Yes.
I think it shows meticulous detail, craftsmanship. I think that there are reasons the story is told in the way that it is, so that the reader clearly sees that Adam and Eve are interdependent.
Yep.
And that it really makes it clear when God says it was not good for man to be alone.
Yeah.
So he makes Eve out of him.
Yep.
Then notice this verse we just read. The Imago Dei, the image of God,
yes,
is in them.
Yep.
So there is we are in relational community, our first parents.
Yeah.
And seen as really one item.
Yes.
Not two individuals. They're seen as one flesh.
Yep.
And the male and female aspects of their personhood, personality fully reflect the nature, the image of God.
Yeah.
Which is why we're not surprised, dude, why we see what we've talked about this before. I see lots of maternal imagery.
Yes. Yes.
As a hen gathers her chicks under her wings.
Yeah.
When Israel was a child, I nursed them. I taught them how to walk. There's a lot of maternal. Paul uses maternal and paternal language about his relationship with young believers,
Yep.
how he relates to them, how the Lord relates to them. And I think it's because the fullness of God's heart and personhood is expressed in both.
Yeah.
Am I on the right track, dude?
No, and I think
so many
that's
ways to
good,
go on
right?
that one.
Because there's an understanding of completion, right? There has to be an understanding of, again, Keller brings us up, the great dance, the celestial dance, right? And what we see is God is really in the form of making things not just perfect, but good. That good is complete.
Yeah.
Right. This is why when God creates, everything's good except for humanity, because when he creates Adam and Adam alone, it's not good that man should be alone.
Yes.
And then Eve is created, and now it's complete. Humanity is now a completed part of God's creation.
Yeah.
Right? Because there is something that we see that is lacking in the nature of man that is given to woman.
Absolutely.
Right. And again, maybe we'll do a whole nother thing on that. But what we're seeing is, okay, now the image of God is complete in man and woman. And now the image of God can be passed down to humanity.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you think about it, like that, I mean, we know biologically that's what happens, right? The DNA, you get 25 chromosomes, 25 chromosomes, or 26. And those are combined in some way, shape, or form to make you.
Yeah.
And so again, like when you think about not just spiritually, but genetically, the completion of humanity and how that's going to work.
Yeah.
We see that there is something in the completion of the image of God in his creation that can now move forward.
Yes. Yes. And I think how significant that is, dude, in terms of man being the last thing he creates in the Genesis account. I mean, the fact that detail of male and female being created fully reflecting God's image is huge.
Yes.
And you could tell even the way it's told here, it's almost like, okay, now that I've laid this out,
right,
let me tell you what this means. The other thing that's fascinating, dude, I know you have some questions, so if I jump too far ahead, let me know.
Yeah, no, you're good.
But how interesting. Animals don't get it. Niagara Falls doesn't get it. The Grand Canyon, Alpha Centauri, if I remember my old high school astronomy, it's the closest star outside the sun.
Yep.
It doesn't get it. The Milky Way, all the constellations, the breathtaking things, that the Hubble telescope has never even seen.
Yes.
Don't get imprinted with this Imago Dei, the image of God. It is solely man's possession.
Because of that, how should we view our worth and our dignity then?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Big question, dude. Well, let's think of that. The other group that doesn't get it, and this surprises people, the most human-like creatures, we might think animals, maybe. No, we would think angels.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They seem like to have something akin to us. They're individuals.
Yep.
They serve. They appear usually in some sort of human-esque form.
Yeah.
In passages that we've read. In Abraham's case, it was a while till he even recognized that it was the Lord himself and two angels, apparently.
They're almost, even at the beginning, there appears to be some kind of choice whether to serve God or not.
Right. When you get into the Satan's origin story, as it were. So I'm fascinated by the fact that only mankind, only men and women, only human beings get it. So therefore, the dignity of Jesus. I'll answer that question, dude, with a story that I love from the Gospels.
Yeah.
And that, of course, is when Jesus confronts the Gerasene demoniac. Yep. Who was tortured night and day, cut his body with shards of glass and pottery, roamed among the tombs. It's just a pitiful sight. And Jesus knowingly sent the legion of demons into 2,000 pigs. Yeah. That crashed over the cliff to the rocks to their death below. And again, I've always stressed this. I do not believe for a moment that the Bible endorses animal cruelty.
Right.
We've got Levitical laws that protect oxen and sheep, and they are meant. You don't muzzle the ox. You share the grain that's shredded. Jonah, again, the last verse in Jonah is, there are 120,000 people that don't know right from wrong. Probably a reference to children in Nineveh.
Yep.
And many cattle. I'm still fascinated. That's the last verse in the book of Jonah. And many cows too, that, he cares about it and he creates them. So let's take that as the backdrop.
Mm-hmm.
But 2,000 animals plunged to their death because one man was being horribly dominated and victimized by this horde of demons.
Yeah.
That's telling.
Yeah.
So we have dignity.
Yeah.
Our enemies have dignity.
Yeah.
Even when they are horribly out of line and doing terrible things, there's a sense in which the Imago Dei in man should really capture our attention.
Yeah.
So, take a topic, dude. Again, another topic for another cast: the death penalty, pro or con.
Yeah.
Wherever you land on that subject, because our Christian groups that have represented both perspectives historically, wherever you land on that subject, there should be a great sense of, these people have dignity.
Yes.
Even these death row criminals, there's dignity. And I get it. You watch a story and see those terrible. I know it's horrible.
Yeah.
But that is a person made in God's image.
Yeah.
No other thing in creation bears that except human beings.
Yeah.
So,
well, this is why when you look at even those who are justified in taking lives, soldiers, law enforcement, right?
Sure.
The people like that.
Yeah.
They're required to do counseling after that.
Yes.
Why? Because we know innately there is something that, even though this person may have deserved it, even though this person may have been in the process of taking someone else's life or about to take their life, there is something that disrupts us at our very core when we have to take the life of another person. And it doesn't disrupt us in the same way. And I'll even put this argument out there. Even people who are pro-animal to the nth degree.
Yes.
There is a difference between the killing of an animal, and we know this as a society, as humanity in general, because really, when you look at it, it's smaller fringe pockets that elevate animals to the level of humanity. It is not the universe. It is not the earth as a whole. It is not humanity as a whole that does this, right? And so there is something that is just unique and different. A farmer doesn't need to go and see a therapist.
Yes.
When he slaughters his herd,
yes,
right? Farmer doesn't need to go and see a therapist when, he kills his chickens. Like, it's people who need to go and they need to get counseling and they need to put it into perspective, because they have violated, they might not know it, but they have violated they haven't violated, but God's sacred law in life has been taken.
Yeah.
And that impacts and affects them on a level that they can't understand and comprehend.
Absolutely.
Right. And so there is something to the fact that when another life is taken, it disrupts us at our core.
Yes.
Right. And so the people that take those lives in the pursuit of justice, there's something that is disrupting them to their core, because they know intrinsically that person had something greater than the animals that are in the field.
I think you're exactly right. And it's so sewn into us, probably at almost a deeply mystical level we can't even perceive.
Yeah.
That I think you're right. And if you remember, dude, there was a gentleman who used to go here. He sadly passed away. He was a Korean War vet. And I know from talking to him, talking to his family, this guy comes home, it's 1953. They don't really have a category yet for PTSD.
Right.
But he saw, I'm not even 100% sure he took human life, although I suspect he did based on the stories he shared. But he saw several of his friends in his army battalion that lost their lives. And there's a reason these men have such a challenging time witnessing the loss of life. I know, dude, when that horrible Sandy Hook tragedy took place, I saw, Lisa and I watched a little documentary. It was coming at it from another angle, but there were several references to the those first responders, the help they need processing and dealing with that. Because you've got the added, it's not just the loss of life, it's the age of those children, the condition unthinkable in which they were obviously found. Yes, there's something very significant. Yeah. And it's different than even when your dog dies. And dude, believe me, we just had a family earlier in the summer that I saw online just said, hey, we had to put our dog. Actually, there were two families in a short period of time, and I was able to talk to one, and they were like, oh, we feel kind of silly. We know it's just a dog. I said, no, I get it. I mean, it's a part of your family. Right. But yes, they are. It is not a person. Right. Totally different.
Well, and this is, so I remember teaching these things to my students because I've, and again, you know, my views on animals and pets and all that stuff. But the reality is I grew up with tons of animals. I grew up with tons of pets.
Oh yeah.
Lost a lot of pets, lost a lot of dogs. You get a new dog, your feelings transfer to that dog.
Right. I've heard a lot of people say that.
It's sad and it's disappointing and you miss it, but your feelings for the one pet transfer to the other.
Yes. Not so with a child.
And I think, you know, and I used to tell this when my dad passed away, my feelings for my dad never transferred. Right. And there were so many godly men who came into my life, two in particular whom I've come to, you know, at that point love as father figures and mentors, and now they're friends. The feelings never transferred one to one. Yeah. Right. There's a connection there, and there's a love, and there's an appreciation, and there is, you know, again, those things are there, but the relationship that I had and the feelings that I had for my dad never fully transferred, right? My mother, after losing my father, was married 2 other times. The feeling she had for my father never transferred to the other husbands. And again, she lost, you know, my father dies of a heart attack when he's young. Her second husband dies of cancer. He's relatively young. And then her third husband dies of all kinds of health issues. He's, you know, significantly older, but still not old. She loved them, but very different ways. The feelings did not transfer. Yes. And I think that's something we see, right? You get a new animal and the feelings transfer to that animal. The animal can replace the new pet can replace the former pet. Yes. A new husband doesn't replace the former husband. Yes. A new father doesn't replace the former father, right? And I think we see those as truths in lives through observation and experience.
Dude, and you are 100% on it. As you were sharing that, I finally found it. I was getting frustrated because I said, it's here somewhere. I was looking for a pretty famous quote by C.S. Lewis, not usually in the top 3 or 5, but maybe the top 10, but on the nature of a human being. When you talk about your dad, dude, well, there's only one of him. Yeah. And you know that. Yeah. There's only one. And he was there for a short time, and then he wasn't. Yeah. And you know, with all these years, you haven't seen him until you see him again. And I think that's true. I don't know if that can be said about any other thing but a human being. Yeah. Because each one is so distinct, etc. Lewis talks about this in The Weight of Glory. Now, I want to be clear. He's using gods and goddesses in a
small g,
yes, euphemistic way, but he's really commenting on he's not calling us gods. Or I've heard some people say, "Oh, I don't like that quote." Well, if you know Lewis, he's not ascribing deity to human beings. He's using it poetically, meaning creatures of wonder because they bear the image of God. And he wrote, it's a serious thing to live in a society of possible gods and goddesses. To remember that the dullest and most uninteresting person you can talk to may one day be a creature which, if you saw it now, you would be strongly tempted to worship, or else a horror and a corruption such as you now meet, if at all only in a nightmare. All day long, we are in some degree helping each other to one or other of these destinations. And it's a really interesting thing. I mean, it's interesting that he brings in the hell concept there too. But what he's saying is that human beings, the stakes are so high that the trajectory we're on are so spectacular. Obviously, to be in glory, which we would say is the very fullest embodiment of true humanity. And hell to be the most contrary, the trajectory that we should have been on. It is to be in complete opposition to our created purpose. Which is a horror beyond imagination. But notice what he's doing. I love how he says the dullest person. The dude that you barely noticed. That was behind the guy who was behind the guy who was behind the guy that handed you your burger at the drive-thru. That you dimly processed. And if you had to take a guess at that person's life, interests, ideas, you couldn't care less, and you would do that person. I love how he says that person. If you saw them, if they know the Lord, and that's one day reach this level of glorification. I love that. Right now, you'd be tempted to worship that person. How remarkable they'd be, or a horror that's worse than anything in a nightmare, because we are special beings. I love that quote.
Oh, no, that's good. And actually, so on that quote, because as you pointed out rightly, Larry, so many people are uncomfortable with that. So let's kind of slightly shift gears and talk about the idea between being made like or being made in the likeness versus Christ is talked about being begotten of God. Let's talk about that concept and idea, because we are never referred to as begotten of God. And so talk to us about that. The difference between being like God or the likeness of God and being begotten of God.
Yeah, that's good. Begotten worries some people because they think, oh, that means being born. It means being. So older theologians use term like the eternal begotten Son, because it's sort of there's a begottenness that has no beginning. It's an everlasting from past, present begottenness. Yes, you're right. So in that sense, we are not begotten. Christ, in other words, it's a way of saying has always been, but has been in special connection. One of my old seminary professors said, the Father's relationship to the Son is like, it's like I was there when he was born, yet he was never born. You know what I mean? He has always been, but the relationship is the begottenness. And it's used in some interesting places, even about the resurrection of Jesus, which is interesting. So it's clearly not about origin as relationship and standing. But you're exactly right, dude, because it's not something that can be true of us. We were not eternally past, present beings. There was a time Nathan Bell, Greg Dutcher did not exist. And everybody says, oh, what a world. No, that's cruel. No, but we did.
What a wonderful world.
Yeah, exactly, dude. Like in 1955, when Doc Brown and a young Marty McFly were trying to get back, dude, we weren't there. At least we were here to say, and nobody was, because it's not real. So stop that, Lisa. Back to the Future is real in my mind. Anyway, I should say when Eisenhower, was president, we weren't there. He was. And he was when Alexander the Great or William the Conqueror or any prior ancient person roamed the planet. So begottenness is a relational connection, a status that he has in relationship with God the Father that is eternal, that has no beginning. It's not a human begottenness where there was no person, then there was. And that's not said of us. So I would always say, I think the image of God is interesting because we're talking about not we're not divine beings.
Right.
We are like God. We reflect. I think you said earlier, we reflect God. So you think of a mirror, and dude, when I see a picture of you, I'm not really seeing you. I'm seeing a reflection. Oh, that's Nathan. I'd say, well, in the sense that that's a pixelated screen that is mimicking, but Nathan's over here. This is the real God that I'm looking at with my eyes right now. And so in that sense, we are those reflections of him. So we are not divine beings. There are some Christian teachers, allegedly Christian teachers, that have taught that we have the divine. And no, we don't. We do not have a divine nature. I don't believe we will ever have a divine nature. We are human beings, and we'll be glorified, and we will be like him in our sinlessness, in our not being tainted by sin and all the garbage of our world. But we are like him. We are not divine beings. And I have heard some teaching sometimes that border, I don't need to go into that too much, but I was at one maybe 20 years ago, I think it was early CFC, and a guy who was here in the early years, like this one particular speaker, and I don't think the dude was a heretic, but his handling of the image of God was almost like, when you've got divine in you, you're not. I think his takeaway was you're a human being that's special. Amen, dude. You don't need to improve upon Genesis 1, 26 and 27. You don't need to add. We need to accept what God says about us. The animals didn't get it. The angels didn't get it, but we did. There's some way that our composition and our function, which I know we're going to get into, is a reflection of God.
Well, you mentioned, the idea of eternal Christ, right? And there's a couple things that come to my mind. One of the ways that I've always understood that idea of begotten is of the same essence. Right? Christ is of the same essence of the Father. The Son is of the same essence of the Father. We're not of the same essence.
Agree.
Right?
Or some of in the Trinitarian debates, they would sometimes say or substance. And you'd get into those discussions. But yes, that's right. We are not. And look at the account. The account is we are made from the dust. We are pre-existent material. And God breathes into us a soul. And that's coming back to me now. That dude was making a lot to do with him breathing in us. And I thought, man, just be careful. If you're young people are going home thinking I'm a divine being. That is really not a good place to be.
And it's untrue, right? This is why. So the other thing that came to my mind when you were talking about we weren't here when Eisenhower was here, right? Christ brings up this very point when he's talking to the Pharisees, right? And they're getting into this battle over Christ's divine nature, right? And he drops that, good friend Matt Fonte did a series this past summer in our core class, the I am. And Christ drops the biggest one on them. Before Abraham was, I am, right? Showing them clearly that the Father and I are one. Before you and your puny arguments existed, before Abraham, who you claim as the to quote the Arthurian legend, right? The once and future king, right? The end all be all. Guess what? Before he was, I am. I have always existed with the Father. Abraham was a twinkle in his daddy's eye when I existed. Abraham wasn't even thought of in his daddy's eye when I existed, right? And so Christ just shows us that his connection to the Father so supersedes ours, right? And again, not to say that we don't have value, right? Because God sends his only son, Christ of his own volition comes down to save a broken and fallen humanity because we have broken away from our purpose and our command as being image bearers of God, what that was supposed to look like and how that was supposed to take form and shape. Right? At its core, you talked about the animals, right? We were supposed to have dominion over all the earth.
Yep.
Right? We were supposed to subdue it. We were supposed to, I tell my students, we were supposed to explore it, right? Our desire to explore the world that we have is given from God. That's what we were supposed to do.
Yes. Now, dude, I'm going to say the controversial thing.
Yeah.
And I like these movies too. If you press it, the worldview of Planet of the Apes is poppycock.
Right.
The unspoken, sometimes spoken in the newer ones, is what if these animals, meaning the apes as opposed to us, just somehow had one or two things go their way, and it's completely devoid of any sense of the Genesis account. No, we were intended to take dominion. Now, believe me, an animal can kill a human. We know that. And, well, there was a terrible story, dude. I saw this summer when we were at Myrtle Beach. It came across my feed one day when I was on the beach, and I stupidly shared it to Lisa's response. Thanks for sharing that on an otherwise beautiful day. But I blurted it out. It was a CEO in Africa. He was on a trip.
Oh,
safari.
yes.
Did you see it? He was gored and then trampled by an elephant, which is just, oh my goodness. And obviously, but think about it, dude, those things are rare occasions. Why? Because man has filled the earth, dominated the earth, and has largely, is that rain?
Yeah, it sounds like it,
and has largely cordoned off the animals in their places and spaces and their sections, and we have built cities, and we have built and
let's be real, we have zoos with those animals in it, right? We've contained those animals. The animals have not contained us.
And sometimes, I mean, depending on who I'm talking to, I realize, that might be a point of contention. So I will be careful how I go about that. Because again, to stay true to our heart, we always want to talk about Jesus. But at some point, if somebody came to faith and they had this notion, one of the most important discipleship things they would need to learn is that man was created in the image of God and the animals were not. And again, I'm not endorsing cruelty to animals. Nobody is. Well, there might be some people saying that, but we certainly aren't. But I would say the Planet of the Apes worldview is pretty crappy. I mean, I love the movies. I'm entertained. Cornelius and all those apes, and they're great special effects. I love the one that started it off years ago, the James Franco one, and all that. I thought there were some great things. But if you press me, this honestly, dude, became an issue a little bit with VeggieTales in the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I think they were very wise to not make Jesus a vegetable. I think that would have been kind of a weird choice. So they just never had God or Jesus, only referenced and never shown.
Vegified?
Yes. You're like, are we going to vegify? I don't think so. But, and again, it's a little kid show, etc. But if you really press it, and I'm just saying it, it is not right, because all those characteristics, what we call personification. Think about it. There's a whole literary concept that essentially ponders what they're asking is, what if these things were created in the image of God? That weren't. What if the moon had a face and could talk? What if, the constellation Orion could come to life and interact with us, etc. That's what they're doing, and what's personification. The building swallowed them up. Well, it didn't really. It's just an inanimate object. So I'm just saying, in light of everything you've said so far, I think that this is an important moment. Oh, it means something definitive that we bear his image.
And it should, right? I mean, we find even in the book of Hebrews that salvation doesn't even come to, again, who we would probably most closely identify with in God's creation, the angels. Salvation isn't even for the angels.
It's not a redemptive plan for them.
And so if it's not a redemptive plan for them, which again, that's who we would more closely identify with in regard to intellect, volition, things like that, then we have to draw a line in the sand and say animals that do not share that cognitive ability, the why of what they do, right?
Yes.
The lion doesn't have a why for killing, right? It's instinctual. It does it because it's hungry, it's threatened. There are triggers
It's what it does
for its why, quote unquote, why, right? I don't have to have that as a person, right? And so for good or ill, right? Yes, I can kill something to eat it because I'm hungry, for survival. I can kill it because it's attacking me, again, defense, survival. But there's also something in me that I can just kill it for the sake of sport.
Of course.
Right?
Yep.
Because I want to.
Right.
I could also kill it to help out someone else, right? So this family down the road that's starving, a group of lions in their pride is not going to kill something and then give it to another pride down the road.
Right.
Right. And so we as humanity have the ability to conceptualize and think through our actions and our whys and evaluate those and follow them or ignore them.
Yes.
And those are things that aren't given to creatures.
No,
right?
it is, dude. I'm so glad you're saying this. It is ours, and I do think, and I understand. I really do. Why a good friend of mine, I got to be careful here, but he hates Woody Harrelson.
No,
I like Woody Harrelson as an actor.
I
know diddly about him as a person, but
just want a Twinkie, man.
Yes, exactly. Where's my Twinkie? What about coconut? You hate it? Not to taste the consistency. Anyway, I loved when I think he climbed the Golden Gate Bridge. Years ago. Remember protesting? It was an animal rights kind of, and he stopped traffic. And in another interview, he was pro-choice. So a good friend of mine always brings that up, dude. And it's funny you said it. I can't mention how much I love Zombieland.
Yeah,
because this dude. I can't watch Zombieland. I was like, why? And he said, because that idiot Woody Harrelson stopped traffic on the Golden Gate Bridge, and he's a pro-abortion guy. And I understand. Obviously, I always write. I don't share Woody's position, right? But I'm saying I get the frustration.
Yeah,
that sometimes we can elevate animals and be callous about babies in the womb.
Yeah.
Human life.
Yeah.
And that, so yes, the Imago Dei, I definitely think informs the abortion discussion.
But I think with that too, right? We can be so focused on the baby in the womb that we forget that God also commands us not to be cruel to animals.
Agreed.
That from the perspective of the believer,
it's always a balance. Yep.
It should never be, for us as believers, we should never be looking at these things as either or.
No, of course,
right?
They're both ends. Yeah.
And I think that's important to understand is, and this is where I think Christians have gotten themselves into trouble over the years, because there was this kind of string and contingent thought, particularly, in the 70s and 80s into the 90s of Christians not really caring about pollution, not caring about the earth. We can strip mine, we can do all these things. Well, God commanded us to take care of it.
Yeah.
Right. We know ultimately the earth has an expiration date and it's going to be remade.
Yeah.
But it didn't originally.
Yeah.
Right. Just like we didn't originally.
Yep.
And I think it's important to understand that, like, I can be a Christian, and if I am a Christian and I understand what that means to be made in the image of God, that part of that is understanding that I'm in God's world.
Yes.
And I need to take care of the world that he's given to me. I need to steward that world. And so, yes, I do need to be careful with the way I approach strip mining. I need to be careful with the way I approach putting pollutants into our atmosphere. I need to be careful with those things. Does that mean that I need to swing violently to one direction or the other? Absolutely not. But it should be a concern.
Dude, isn't living by and adopting biblical truth always it's nuanced.
Yeah.
It is. You're exactly right. My friend's reaction is, hey, I'm not saying you should stop traffic on the Golden Gate Bridge, but I don't remember what the cause was. Is there? Don't be afraid to look. Does he have a legitimate concern?
Right.
Forgetting maybe what the hypocrisy is about human life, etc. But you're right, because that's how God is. God. Now, here's what I would say. Right. I'm thinking of an old MASH episode. I know I'm really dating myself. Did you ever watch MASH? The show?
I'll tell you a story sometimes, but yes, we own all 11 seasons, have seen them multiple times. We may or may not have a trivia game that I can kill people on.
Oh my goodness. Well, dude, then you will know this one. I remember the last season of MASH took a serious turn.
Yes.
Remember the whole season, not just the final episode, which was epic. I think 83 it ended.
Yep.
And I think I watched this one live and understood, but needed a little more instruction. But it's the one where it's maybe BJ that is on the bus, and they have to be quiet.
Oh, that's the last one.
Is that the last one?
It's the second to last one. Yeah. Hawkeye has
the dream about his arms. Doesn't he?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's a different one that I'm thinking of.
Yes. This is the one where there's a woman holding, I think, a chicken. And
yes.
Maybe that was Hawkeye.
That was Hawkeye.
Yes.
Who's yelling at the woman who's got the chicken.
Because the enemy, the North Korean soldiers are somewhere out and about. They know they've got to be extremely quiet.
Yeah.
And the chicken keeps squawking, right?
Yeah.
Or clucking or whatever it's doing. And he keeps, would you shut that chicken up?
Yeah.
And he keeps saying, would you shut that? And there's something about he keeps reliving that story. Yeah. And remember, they show it at the end.
They show it at the end.
It was a baby.
Yeah.
Think of the material, the writer. It was a brilliant episode because it was so heart-wrenching.
Yeah.
And now you see why, to your point, Hawkeye's so messed up.
Yeah.
Because I'm emotional thinking about it, dude. I remember as a kid, it was such a powerful scene. This poor woman has got her little crying baby.
Yeah.
But that crying baby could have gotten them all killed.
Right.
And
notice what he replaces the baby with.
With
it's
a chicken.
An animal.
That's exactly right.
Because that's the image he can handle.
We can handle the animal, to your point. Nobody wants to kill a chicken for just, hey, let's kill a chicken, right? There's food purposes, etc.
Right.
But that he couldn't handle that she smothered her baby.
Yeah.
Maybe not intentionally, but that was the effect by keeping the baby quiet.
Yeah.
And I remember, wow.
Yeah.
So all that stuff, dude, I think back, image of God.
Yeah.
Image of God. Even that little precious child that's portrayed there. Image of God. And Hawkeye knew he played a role in ending that life.
Yep.
That young life. And I remember but you understood.
Yeah.
It's like a classic trolley problem challenge, right? You've got the one baby and he's pressuring her, keep that kid quiet. But when he retells it, it's a chicken.
It's a chicken, So we are running low on time, but I want to kind of touch on this last piece because this is what's going to set us up for our future discussions. How does Jesus show us what it looks like to live fully in the image of God?
Oh, good question. Well, I think part of it, dude, is you're saying to just preview that and leave some.
Yeah.
What's interesting, Jesus himself is called.
Yep.
I'm looking at my notes here, dude, that we had. Colossians 1:15.
Yep.
He's called the image of the invisible God.
Yep.
In Hebrews 1:3, he's called the radiance of God's glory.
Yeah.
So keep in mind, this is what's fascinating. Oh, how does this work? Jesus becomes a human.
Yeah.
So he who was God, now we can authentically say also bears his image.
Yeah.
But it's different because of, again, the nature of what the 100% God, 100% man, God-man looks like is beyond comprehension.
Yes.
But he is, to me, my takeaway on this is what you and I are meant to be.
Yes.
Everything we see Jesus say, do, the way he handles himself, that's supposed to be you and me.
Yes.
His life shows us that's what we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And we sense the Grand Canyon gulf of difference.
Yeah.
I look at him, and I'm like, but I think, wow. And now, the trajectory we are on. Scripture talks about us being renewed in his image.
Yeah.
And he is the perfect image.
Yep.
So we're seeing how it all connects.
Yep.
We were supposed to bear his image. So I know one of the questions we had talked about tackling, I can get in really quick, dude, is sometimes, so what happened in the fall? Did we lose the image of God? I don't believe so. Right. Because the image of God is actually cited later in Genesis 9.
Yeah.
And it's a pro-capital punishment argument. I know people say, does the New Testament change that? Save that for another podcast. Right. I'll just say, why should a person be put to death? You remember? It says, because he put someone made in the image of God to death.
Yep. Yep.
Again, the significance of killing a human life requires a comparable punishment, different than if you were to kill a squirrel. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. The hunter who's out doing his thing. It is different. So if you were out hunting people, we can't let you do that. Right. We cannot let you hunt
the
people.
Most dangerous game is a problem.
Yes, exactly. We can't, I know we've all watched The Purge, but we can't actually let it happen. So I'd just say the image of man was not lost. Yes. But it was marred. Yeah. Might be the right word.
Well, this is where our theology of total depravity comes in, right? Not that we are as bad as we could possibly be, but every aspect of who we are as humanity has been corrupted. Yes. Right. And that includes the image of God that he left on us. Yes. That image in us has been corrupted. And I think it needs to be clear, right? That that's why we see Christ, and that's the uncorrupted image of God, where we as humanity our image of God in us is corrupted through our sin. Yes. And it is an important distinction to make, right? Yes. That yes, it's still there, just like our goodness is still there, just like our faith is still there, just like all of the attributes that God gives us are there, but they are corrupted. Yes. They're not what they should have been. Yeah.
Yeah. Very good, dude.
So
what a great, dude, my mind is a little saturated and heavy, but in a good way. There's so much to this topic, and we really haven't even gotten to the functionality, which is the next 3 weeks. Yes. To be authentically human. Yep. We have to explore those roles and think of it. If Jesus is ultimately yes, he's God, but he is also 100% man. Yes. He is the ideal. This is who, again, not his divine nature, but who in his humanness we were made to be. Yes. So we see his role as prophet, priest, and king as incredibly informative for what we're supposed to be. Now, I know some people hear this, am I supposed to be like a king? What do I rule over? You do. Yeah. You rule over many things. Yep. Have you thought about what those things are? A priest, I don't want to be a pastor or a minister, if that's the closest thing.
I don't want to hear people's confessions.
Yes, exactly. So what does that mean? Yeah. In what way am I a priest? Yeah. And then a prophet? Right. Well, I mean, again, that's kind of like a preacher and
didn't like John the Baptist, who was a prophet, go around eating locusts and wild honey? And
is that what I'm supposed to do? So when we really, I think, define these carefully, biblically, with the appropriate nuance, I think we'll see, that really does inform my human experience, my life experience. And I hope it's helpful. I really do. I think it'll be helpful to us, and we hope it's helpful to you.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, man. Until the next time, we just rock the Casbah. Thank you again for listening to These Go to 11, an unchurchy conversation about everyday faith. Once again, please make sure you like, subscribe, and review on your favorite podcast platform. And if you ever find yourself in the Forest Hill, Maryland area, please feel free to stop by at 135 Industry Lane, and you can get all of our service times and information at christfc.org.
These go to 11.